My stepmom kicked me out at 17 saying, "Make room for the real kids." 10 years later she's waiting tables at my restaurant chain. Quick reminder, don't just watch, be part of the family. Subscribe and say hello from wherever you're watching, right here in the comments. I still remember the exact smell of that Tuesday morning, burnt toast and cheap vanilla air freshener trying to mask cigarette smoke. I was 17, sitting at our kitchen table in South Chicago, cramming for my calculus final when Vanessa walked in wearing her purple bathrobe, arms crossed like she was bracing for war. "Kira, we need to talk." Her voice had that edge, the one she'd perfected over the 5 years since she married my dad. I looked up from my textbook. "Can it wait? I have a test tomorrow." "No, it can't wait." She pulled out the chair across from me but didn't sit. Just stood there, one hand on the backrest, her acrylics tapping against the wood. "Benjamin and I have been discussing our living situation." My stomach twisted. Dad's name coming from her mouth always sounded wrong, like she was trying too hard to claim ownership. "Okay. With the twins getting older and Destiny needing her own space now, this house is getting too small." She paused, watching my face. "We need you to move out." The words hit me like ice water. "What? I'm still in high school." "You're almost 18. Plenty of kids your age are already working, living independently." She said it so casually, like she was suggesting I change my shirt. "My kids need stability, Kira. They need their own rooms, their own space. You understand, don't you?" I stared at her, waiting for the punchline that never came. "Where's Dad?" "He's at work. We already discussed this. He agrees it's what's best for the family." "I'm family." Vanessa's smile was thin, practiced. "You know what I mean. The real kids need. The real kids." My voice cracked. 3 days. That's all Vanessa gave me. 3 days to pack up 17 years of my life while my 9-year-old half-siblings Destiny and Devin watched from the hallway like I was some stranger being evicted. My dad, Benjamin Barrett, the man who used to call me his little warrior, couldn't even look me in the eye during dinner those nights. "Baby girl, you understand this is temporary, right?" he finally said on my last night, standing in my doorway while I stuffed clothes into garbage bags. Vanessa hadn't even let me use suitcases. Said she needed them for their upcoming trip to Florida. Temporary. I repeated the word like it was foreign. "How long is temporary, Dad?" He rubbed his face, looking older than his 42 years. "Just until we figure things out financially. Maybe 6 months, a year tops. Vanessa's not working right now, and with 3 kids. *4 kids, I interrupted, shoving my old teddy bear into the bag harder than necessary. "You have 4 kids. Or did you forget that when you married her? Don't talk about your stepmother like that." His voice went hard, defensive. "She's trying her best. This house is expensive, and your college fund, we had to use some of it for the twins' medical bills last year." My head snapped up. "What? You spent my college money?" Dad's silence was answer enough. My grandmother, his mom, had set up that fund before she died. $23,000, untouchable until I turned 18. Except apparently, it was touchable if Vanessa needed new living room furniture and a Disney vacation. "Get out," I whispered. "Kira. Get out." I screamed at this time, and he flinched. I moved into my Aunt Shanice's 1-bedroom apartment in Bronzeville that Friday. She cleared out her storage closet, literally a closet, 5 feet by 7 feet, and helped me set up an air mattress between boxes of Christmas decorations and her old college textbooks. "You can stay as long as you need, baby," Aunt Shanice said, hanging a small mirror on the back of the door. She was my dad's younger sister, only 31, working double shifts as an ER nurse at Cook County Hospital. "But I gotta be straight with you, my lease says no permanent additional occupants. My landlord's a asshole. We gotta keep this quiet. I nodded, throat too tight to speak. The closet smelled like mothballs and old paper, but it was mine. Sort of. That first week, I cried myself to sleep every night on that air mattress, which slowly deflated until I was basically sleeping on the floor. I'd wake up at 5:30 when Aunt Shanice left for her morning shift, get ready in the dark so I wouldn't wake her roommate Tanisha, then catch 2 buses to finish my senior year at King College Prep. Nobody at school knew I was homeless. I wore the same 5 outfits on rotation, washed in Aunt Shanice's sink at night. My best friend Monique noticed I'd stopped eating lunch. "Girl, you okay? You've been acting weird." She studied me across the cafeteria table where I was pretending to do homework instead of buying food I couldn't afford. "I'm fine. Just stressed about college applications." "Bullshit. What's really going on?" I almost told her. Almost broke down right there in the cafeteria. But then I saw the pity that would follow, the questions, the gossip. Instead, I smiled. "Just tired. Vanessa's been on my case about chores." Monique rolled her eyes. "Your stepmom's still trippin'. Girl, only 6 more months until graduation." 6 more months felt like forever. 2 months into living in Aunt Shanice's closet, I got a job at Harold's Chicken on 53rd Street. The manager, a heavy-set man named Curtis with kind eyes, hired me on the spot despite my lack of experience. "You go to King Prep?" he asked, looking at my intake form. "Smart girl. What you need this job for?" I could have lied. Should have lied. But something about Curtis's gentle tone cracked me open. "I need to save money. For college. And other stuff." Curtis studied me for a long moment. "You in trouble? Someone hurting you?" "No, nothing like that. I just need independence." The word tasted bitter. Independence at 17 shouldn't mean choosing between buying deodorant or lunch. "All right. 20 hours a week, no more. Don't let this job mess up your grades, you hear me? I see your GPA drop, we're gonna have words." I worked 4-hour shifts after school and 8 hours on Saturdays. By April, I'd saved $1,100, kept in a Ziploc bag hidden inside my winter boots in Aunt Shanice's closet. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Vanessa couldn't touch it. My dad called twice during those months. Both times, Vanessa was coaching him in the background. I could hear her shrill voice feeding him lines about tough love and building character. "How you doing, baby girl?" Dad's voice was strained, guilty. "I'm fine. Vanessa says maybe you could come by for Devon's birthday next month. The twins miss you." "I have to work." I didn't. I just couldn't stomach watching Vanessa play perfect mother in the house that used to be mine. "Kira, please." I hung up. Aunt Shanice found me crying in the closet an hour later, my phone clutched in my hand. "He doesn't deserve your tears," she said, pulling me into her arms. "My brother's always been weak when it comes to women. But you're strong. You're gonna make it." Michigan State accepted me with a partial scholarship that April. Not my dream school, I'd wanted Northwestern, had the grades for it, but between my depleted college fund and my family situation, MSU was what I could almost afford. The financial aid package covered tuition and housing, but I'd need to work for everything else. I was filling out my housing deposit paperwork in the school library when my phone buzzed. Vanessa. I hadn't heard from her directly in 3 months. "Vanessa, your father and I think it's time you came home to discuss your future plans." I stared at the message, rage building in my chest like a storm. My fingers flew across the keyboard. I have a home. And I'm going to college. Not that you care. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. appeared again. Vanessa, that attitude is exactly why we had to make hard decisions. You're disrespectful and ungrateful. We opened our home to you after your mother abandoned you both. My mother. She always brought up my mother. Keisha James had left when I was 3, no explanation, no forwarding address, just gone. I barely remembered her except through photographs and my dad's sad stories. Vanessa loved weaponizing that abandonment, like she'd rescued me from some tragic fate. Me, you kicked me out. You spent my college fund. You told me to make room for the real kids. How am I the ungrateful one? Vanessa, I never said that. My vision went red. She was lying. Gaslighting me in text form, rewriting history like I was stupid enough to forget. Me, you said it. March 14th, kitchen table. You said, the real kids need their own space. I'll never forget those words as long as I live. Vanessa, you're remembering wrong. Typical. I blocked her number. Then I blocked my dad's. Then I sat in that library for 2 hours, shaking. Curtis noticed I was off during my shift that Friday. I'd messed up 3 orders, snapped at a customer, almost burned myself on the fryer. Office. Now. His tone left no room for argument. I followed him to the cramped back office, preparing for termination. Instead, Curtis pulled out 2 folding chairs and gestured for me to sit. What's going on, Kira? And don't say nothing. I've been managing teenagers for 15 years. I know when something's wrong. The whole story spilled out. Vanessa. Dad. The closet. My college fund. The real kids comment that haunted me like a ghost. Curtis listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then, my wife and I have a spare bedroom. Our daughter moved out last year for grad school. It's yours if you want it. No rent, just help with groceries and utilities when you can. I couldn't process his words. What? Why would you? Because somebody helped me when I was your age and had nothing. And because what your family did to you is wrong. Period. Curtis's voice was firm, absolute. You're a good kid, Kira. Smart. Hardworking. You deserve better than a closet and a deflated air mattress. I moved into Curtis and Sharon's brick bungalow in Hyde Park 2 weeks later. They had a daughter, Imani, who I'd be taking the place of temporarily. The room had actual furniture, good Wi-Fi, and a door that locked. Sharon, a middle school principal, sat me down that first night with a serious expression. Ground rules: you maintain your grades. You respect our home. You save your money for college. And you never, ever let anyone make you feel less than whole again. Deal? Deal, I whispered, crying again. But this time, they were good tears. Senior year ended with me ranked 7th in my class. The graduation ceremony was at the Rosemont Theater, caps and gowns, emotional speeches, the whole production. Curtis, Sharon, Aunt Shanice, and even Tanisha came to watch me walk across that stage. My dad and Vanessa didn't show. I told myself I didn't care. I'd sent them an invitation, a last olive branch I immediately regretted. The ceremony started at 6. By 5:45, I'd checked my phone 17 times. By 6:15, when I walked across that stage to accept my diploma, I stopped checking. Kira Barrett, the principal announced. Michigan State University, studying business administration. The applause from my section was loud, genuine. Curtis stood up, whistling. Sharon was crying. But in the sea of families reuniting after the ceremony, I felt the absence of mine like a physical wound. Monique found me afterward, her own family in tow. Girl, you okay? I saw you looking around. I'm fine. I forced brightness into my voice. Ready to celebrate? We went to Giordano's for deep dish pizza, Curtis's treat. 12 of us crammed into a large booth, laughing and taking pictures. Sharon posted them on Facebook, me in my cap and gown, holding my diploma, genuinely smiling. That night, lying in my borrowed bedroom, my phone buzzed. My dad, calling from a number I didn't have blocked. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello? Baby girl. His voice was thick, emotional. I saw the pictures. You looked beautiful. I'm so sorry Don't. The word came out sharp. You made your choice. Vanessa and the real kids were more important. You don't get to be sorry now. Kira, please. Let me explain. I hung up. Then I turned off my phone and cried myself to sleep one last time for the family I used to have. Michigan State was overwhelming at first, 47,000 students, sprawling campus, Big Ten football culture. But I adapted. I always adapted. I worked 2 part-time jobs, mornings at the dining hall, evenings at a local bookstore. Between classes, work, and studying, I barely slept. My freshman roommate, a white girl named Bethany from Grand Rapids, complained constantly about her overbearing parents who called twice daily and sent care packages weekly. I bit my tongue every time, thinking about my own parents' silence. Second semester, I met Professor Diana Okonkwo in my business strategy course. She was a force, Nigerian immigrant, PhD from Wharton, zero tolerance for excuses. After I aced her midterm, she called me to her office. Kira Barrett. Your exam was exceptional. Professor Okonkwo peered at me over reading glasses. Tell me about yourself. I gave her the sanitized version, Chicago-raised, first-generation college student, interested in entrepreneurship. Bullshit, she said flatly. I read your admissions essay. Family complications forced you into early independence. Don't downplay your story. That adversity is your superpower. Something about her directness made me trust her. Over the next 3 years, Professor Okonkwo became my mentor, pushing me toward opportunities I'd never have pursued alone: case competitions, startup incubators, networking events with successful alumni. The restaurant industry, she said during one of our meetings junior year. It's resilient, essential, scalable. Have you considered it? I thought about Curtis and Harold's Chicken, how that job saved me. Actually, yes. I've been developing a concept. Fast casual soul food, but elevated. Targeting urban professionals who want quality home-style cooking without the wait. Professor Okonkwo smiled. Write a business plan. Enter the university's entrepreneurship competition. Prize is $50,000 in seed funding. 6 months later, I won. The first Kira's Kitchen opened in downtown Lansing 3 months before I graduated. A tiny storefront, 32 seats, menu featuring my grandmother's recipes modernized for speed and consistency. Fried catfish sandwiches. Smoked mac and cheese bowls. Candied yam fries. Peach cobbler in mason jars. We sold out the first day. And the second. And the third. Sharon came for opening week, taking pictures of everything. Baby girl, your grandmother would be so proud, she said, tears in her eyes. You did this. You really did this. Curtis flew up for the grand opening with a check for $5,000. Investment, he said when I tried to refuse. I knew you were special that day you walked into Harold's. Now prove me right. The restaurant took off faster than I'd projected. Lines around the block. Features in the Lansing State Journal and Detroit Free Press. By graduation, we were profitable, barely, but still. I hired a management team, streamlined operations, and started planning location number 2. My dad found out through Facebook. Mutual friends had tagged me in photos from the grand opening. He called from yet another new number. "Kira, I saw, baby girl, this is amazing. Can we talk? Please." "No," I said simply. "Your stepmom and we've been going through some things. Money's tight. The twins are in middle school now, expenses keep piling up." I thought maybe. "You thought maybe I'd give you money?" I laughed, sharp and bitter. "The daughter you kicked out so the real kids could have more space. You want my money now? That's not fair." We were struggling. So was I. At 17. Sleeping in a closet. Working 40-hour weeks while finishing high school. Where were you then? Silence. Then, I made mistakes. I know that. But I'm still your father. No, I said quietly. Curtis is more of a father than you ever were. Lose this number. I blocked him. Again. 5 years after opening Kira's Kitchen Lansing, I had 12 locations across Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. Revenue hit $15 million. We'd been featured in Essence, Black Enterprise, and Food and Wine. I was 26 years old, living in a downtown Chicago loft, and employing 300 people. But success felt hollow sometimes. Late nights in my office, reviewing expansion plans, I'd think about Destiny and Devon. They'd be teenagers now. Did they remember me? Did Vanessa poison them against me completely? Did my dad ever tell them the truth about why I disappeared? My executive assistant, Julian, a brilliant gay man from Atlanta who'd become one of my closest friends, noticed my mood swings. "Boss, you need therapy. I'm saying this with love, but you've got some deep family trauma you're not processing." He was right. I started seeing Dr. Patricia Williams, a Black woman therapist in her 50s who specialized in family estrangement and childhood trauma. In her office, with its warm lighting and comfortable chairs, I finally unpacked everything. "You're allowed to grieve the family you deserved," Dr. Williams said during one session. "You're also allowed to build the family you choose. Those aren't mutually exclusive." Slowly, I started healing. I let Curtis and Sharon host me for holidays. I developed real friendships beyond business relationships. I dated, unsuccessfully, but I tried. I learned that my worth wasn't determined by my father's failures or Vanessa's cruelty. And then, Location 13 opened in South Chicago. 3 blocks from my old high school. 5 miles from the house where Vanessa kicked me out. I should have known our worlds would collide eventually. I just didn't expect it to happen the way it did. The South Chicago location needed servers. Our general manager, Candace, was conducting interviews when she brought me an application that made my blood run cold. "Boss, I have a weird feeling about this one. Wanted your input before proceeding." The name on the application, Vanessa Barrett. Age, 47. Experience, limited. References, none listed. Reason for applying, desperate for work. Willing to do anything. I stared at that application for 10 minutes. Vanessa. My Vanessa. The woman who'd looked me in the eye and told me to make room for the real kids. She was applying to work at my restaurant, with no idea it was mine. "What do you want to do?" Candace asked gently. She knew my story. I was open with my management team about my background. Every petty impulse screamed at me to reject her. To let her drown in whatever karma had brought her low enough to need this job. But something made me pause. "Schedule an interview," I said finally. "I'll conduct it personally." Candace's eyes widened. "Are you sure that's?" "I'm sure." "Friday at 2. Don't tell her who the owner is." That Friday, I arrived early, positioning myself in the manager's office with a clear view of the waiting area. At 1:50, Vanessa walked in. She'd aged badly. The Vanessa I remembered was put together, vain about her appearance, always dressed like she was going somewhere important. This Vanessa wore a stained blazer over a wrinkled shirt, her hair unstyled, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. She sat in the waiting area, nervously clutching a folder, checking her phone repeatedly. At 2 exactly, I walked out. Vanessa Barrett? She looked up, and the color drained from her face as recognition hit. Kira. Ms. Barrett, I corrected coldly. I'm the owner. Please, follow me. Vanessa followed me into the office on shaking legs. I gestured to the chair across from my desk, the power dynamic crystal clear. She sat slowly, that folder trembling in her hands. So, I said, opening her application. It says here you're desperate for work. Tell me about that. Kira, I didn't know this was your restaurant. I swear, I wouldn't have. Wouldn't have what? Applied to work for the stepdaughter you kicked out at 17. I kept my voice professional, detached. Let me be clear, this is a job interview. I need a server. You need employment. Your relationship to me is irrelevant unless you make it relevant. Understood. She nodded mutely, tears already forming. Walk me through your work history. I see significant gaps here. Vanessa's story came out in broken pieces. After I left, things deteriorated rapidly. Dad lost his job at the Postal Service 2 years ago. Disability fraud, he'd been caught lying about a back injury. They'd lived off savings until those ran dry. The house was foreclosed on last year. They'd moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Englewood. The twins, they're struggling. Destiny dropped out of high school. Devon's in juvie for stealing. Benjamin, he just gave up. Drinks mostly. Vanessa's voice was hollow. Everything fell apart. And you need this job because we're being evicted. I need first month's rent for a new place by next week, or we're on the street. She met my eyes, desperation naked on her face. Please, Kira. I know I don't deserve your help after what I did, but my kids. Your real kids. The words were out before I could stop them. The ones who needed my room, my space, my college fund. Vanessa flinched like I'd struck her. I was wrong. God, I was so wrong about everything. I thought if I could just get you out, there'd be enough for everyone else. But there was never enough. And without you. She broke down completely then, sobbing into her hands. 10 years ago, I would have felt vindicated. Now, I just felt tired. The position pays $14 an hour plus tips. Training starts Monday. Vanessa's head snapped up. What? You're hired. Provisionally. Screw up once, you're gone. Show up late, you're gone. Disrespect my staff or customers, you're gone. This is purely professional. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because everyone deserves a chance to earn a living with dignity, even people who didn't give me that same courtesy. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Just show up and do the job. Watching Vanessa work her first week was surreal. She was terrible initially, slow, clumsy, overwhelmed by the rush. But she tried. I'd give her that. She showed up every single shift, early, and stayed late to learn. My dad came in on her 4th day. I was in the office when Candace buzzed me. Boss, there's a situation in the dining room. I walked out to find my father at table 7, watching Vanessa refill water glasses, his face a mixture of shame and disbelief. He saw me, and something broke in his expression. Baby girl. I don't have a baby girl, I said quietly. I have a business to run. If you're here to eat, place an order. If not, leave. You're disrupting service. Kiera, please. Let me explain. You have 60 seconds. Make them count. Benjamin Barrett, my father, looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. I failed you. I let Vanessa convince me that you were strong enough to make it on your own, that you didn't need us. I was a coward. I chose her and the twins over you because it was easier. I've regretted it every single day since. Your 60 seconds are up. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know, I see what you've built. Who you've become. You did that without me, despite me. You're stronger than I ever was, and I'm so goddamn proud of you, even if I have no right to be. We stood there, father and daughter, separated by years and choices and pain. Around us, the restaurant hummed with life, my restaurant, built from nothing, fueled by the rejection they'd handed me like a curse that I'd transformed into rocket fuel. You're right, I said finally. You don't get forgiveness. Not today, maybe not ever. But you can have honesty. I survived because of people like Curtis and Sharon, who saw value in me when my own father couldn't. I thrived because I refused to let your failures define my limits. This? I gestured around the restaurant. This is what happened when I stopped waiting for your approval and started building my own legacy. I know, Dad whispered. And I'm sorry. Your apology doesn't fix anything. But it's noted. I turned to Candace. Make sure Mr. Barrett pays his bill before leaving. No family discounts. I walked back to my office, closed the door, and finally, after 10 years of holding it together, I let myself feel everything. The grief. The anger. The triumph. The bittersweet reality that success tastes different when the people you once craved validation from are serving you instead of celebrating with you. Dr. Williams had been right. I'd built the family I chose. Curtis and Sharon were in my corner. Julian had my back. Aunt Shanice called every Sunday. My employees were loyal, my business was thriving, and my life was mine. Vanessa kept the job. We maintained cold professionalism, nothing more. Sometimes I'd catch her watching me during shifts, something like regret mixed with grudging respect in her eyes. My dad never came back. 3 years later, Kiera's Kitchen had 32 locations and counting. I bought Curtis and Sharon a house. I put Imani through law school. I created a scholarship fund for foster kids and homeless youth pursuing higher education. And every single day, when I walked into any of my restaurants, I remembered that 17-year-old girl packing her life into trash bags, sleeping on a deflating air mattress in a closet, being told to make room for the real kids. I'd made room, all right. Room for an empire built on resilience, powered by spite, and sustained by the unshakable knowledge that family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up when you're sleeping on the floor. Vanessa never said those words to me again. She didn't have to. Every shift she worked, every table she served, every paycheck she earned in the restaurant I built without her, without him, without any of them, that was answer enough. I was the real kid all along. And I'd made room for myself at a table they'd never be invited to join.